Scanning for audio.
Well, if you're feeling lonely and getting in a stew, just bend your ear, come over here, and man, here's what you do. If you got the blues, I got some news. Join in the fun in your blue suede shoes. The holiday rock, the holiday rock, the holly, holly, hidey, high, holiday rock. Hidey, hidey, high, holy, holy, ho. Go, go, go to the holiday rock. Hidey, hidey, high, holy, holy, ho. Go, go, go to the holiday rock.
Welcome once again to the Tin Dog Podcast. This time we're going to be discussing Delta and the Bannermen, but I'm going to do things a little bit different from usual. You see, I've not seen Delta and the Bannermen since it was first on, back in the 1980s. Admittedly, the late 80s, but basically the 3 episodes had kind of, passed me by. I believe I'd kind of lost faith in the series, and when my Betamax recorder had finally just gone, I don't want to tape this, I kind of didn't mind, so I've not seen it since. I never bought it on VHS, and I only had the memories of a rather disappointing show to go on. So, what I'll do is I'll do this in 2 parts. Obviously, I'll edit them both together for this recording, but here's the review before I watch it. Because let's face it, Sylvester McCoy's period as the Doctor is not everybody's favourite, thanks to the rehabilitation of him and the Colin Baker's Doctor via the gift of Big Finish. We've got some great performances and some great stories. But here we're talking pure McCoy. It's only 3 stories in his first season. He's still got... Bonnie Langford with him, and that was yet another reason why I really wasn't bothered that my recorder didn't work the first time. This is a story set in 1950s Earth, in Wales, at a holiday camp. And that's all I remembered. I remembered that Ken Dodd was in it, and that didn't bode well at all. The world of stunt casting on behalf of GNT was never the most subtle of creatures, and the use of Ken Dodd, a perfectly reasonable comedian, was perhaps, for many people, the low point of the entire original run. I can't see it hitting Doctor Who magazine's 200 greatest moments, which, to be fair, I've not actually got up to yet because I'm reading it in order. Yeah, I'd lost faith in the show at this point, which is odd, because the week after this story closed, we get Dragonfire, which was the beginning of my resurgence of love for everything, and of course, the reappearance of Ace. So I'll now watch Delta and the Bannermen and come straight back with a proper review.
You cannot escape me. Wherever you go, I will track you down. You are the last. Turn back. There is nowhere you can hide.
All right, 1959, here we come. Come on now, all of you sing. 5, 6, and 7. 7. It's fine, Anthony. Run.
And so Delta and the Bannermen fades into the distance, or at least not fades quite enough. Yes, it's as cheap looking as I remembered, and Ken Dodd does annoy just as much as I remembered him annoying. But like when you watch Stardust in order to watch Ricky Gervais get stabbed over and over again, you can watch Ken Dodd get shot over and over again thanks to the wonders of the new DVD from To Entertain. Okay, so that's not completely fair. There are people like Tully Galashon who think that Delta and the Bannermen is a heartwarming and uplifting story. And I suppose it is. It just sounds cheap. It looks fairly cheap, and to be fair, at the time, Doctor Who was cheap. A flying bus, yes, yet another flying bus. A leftover set from Heidi High, and production values that, well, just don't quite hit the mark. Susan Moore's tiny little offspring thing is the absolute exception to this. Wiggly, wormy muppet of a prop, but it's extremely good for the time. You can tell it's been done by a freelancer trying to prove themselves, and prove themselves they did. I'm sure I met Susan at a Doctor Who convention at one point, many, many, many years ago. But as usual, I'm a bit digressing.
I detect another mine.
There are podcasts, and there are podcasts, and Staggering Stories is one of those podcasts. Listen to our in-depth and comprehensive reviews.
I really liked it.
Be in awe of our witty repartee.
You're idiots.
Cower before the might of El Presidente.
I shall have them all executed, but I'm drifting.
Marvel at the thoughts of the head of Pertwee. Staggering Stories. I like it, but I don't know why. Can I have a glass of water, please? This voiceover's killing my throat.
The other mind has now left the Matrix.
The story itself, well, it's classic early McCoy fare. It's light and bubbly and has flashes of darkness, but never quite pulls them off. It's definitely violent. Even by Doctor Who standards, there are bodies aplenty. Why the Bannermen actually want to kill off the Queen is kind of beyond me, but that whole human insect thing, well, I'm sure we've all seen it done before. And it's odd because there are echoes, not just the whole Doctor Who being set in Wales thing, which I'm sure we can get many, many hours of fun out of. No, there's a whole insects thing, there's a whole subplot concerning bees, which surprised me. I'd completely forgotten them. I'd also forgotten how strangely, well, Time Lord-like the Welsh guy who keeps the bees really is. I'd forgotten an awful lot about this story. I had just remembered the bad points. And for me, now, one of the bad points is it's only 3 episodes long. It's not 4, which surprised me. Call yourself a Doctor Who historian? Nah, never. As a villain, Don Henderson, the head of the Bannermen, plays the part completely straight, and that's what this needed. He's tremendously menacing. If the guy was still alive, I'm sure people would be thinking we could have him back. The Americans in this story, however, do need a lot to be, well, believed. Their accents stumble over the provided dialogue. This story feels like it needs just a little bit of, well, rehearsal rather than rewriting. But again, some of the costumes are bright and garish, and I'm sure we can get away with it. Let's face it, GNT loved his bright and garishness. And does it come back to a flying bus being the downside of this whole story? It's explained that it's a cloaked, or rather rebuilt, staff freighter, specifically designed to have a retro feel, which you can believe, and in the new adventure books you believed completely in that sort of thing. But here it just looks like a cop-out. It's not as bad a story as I remember, and I can't say this enough. My memory was of something terrible. All right, I'll never be able to fully believe in Bonnie Langford as a companion, and she's given some truly awful lines here. Things about her not being an expert just make me cringe. This DVD comes with an assortment of goodies, and it was interesting to note via the gift of the little information text at the bottom of the screen that the hitman, the one at the end of episode 1, was the lead singer from the Flying Pickets, the band who brought out Only You. And if you're in America, that probably means so little to you that I've just wasted some time. Yeah, it's interesting to note that, well, this is the first appearance of Sylvester McCoy's question mark umbrella, and I'd like for the record to say that I own such an item, signed by Sylvester himself. Smug? Moi, I suspect so. But as this story is perceived as something less than a classic by most fans, the team putting together the DVD really have had to push the boat out to try and attract customers, especially with it only being 3 episodes, as some people truly do see quantity over quality when it comes to paying out cash. So the extras on the disc, of course, feature a lovely commentary with Sylvester McCoy, Sarah Griffiths and the director Chris Clough, as well as Andrew Cartmel. An on-set making of was actually made at the time for the children's BBC programme But First This, showing some really, really nice work. There's some contemporary location reports. That's from the local news report programme Wales Today. The continuing work on Stripped for Action appears here, so those of you interested in the history of Doctor Who comics, again this is a must. Hugh and Us is an odd little documentary-ette, or doco as certain people would have it, where Hugh Lloyd, who's now no longer with us, talks about his time with Delta and the Bannermen, as well as his long and varied career, and for fans of classic British comedy, it's well worth a look. There are trails and continuity, the standard photo gallery, again the Radio Times PDF listings, and a rather odd section called Clown Court, which is a section from Noel Edmonds' Saturday Roadshow programme, incorporating outtakes from Delta and the Bannermen, as well as other Doctor Who stories. So if you collect outtakes, again, this one's for you. But best of all, on this disc, it contains Coming Soon, The War Games, the 3-disc set that I've been waiting for so long. 10 episodes that you can watch in almost any order of the end of the Troughton era. Now that we'll be covering in great depth in a future TDP.
The Time Lords are an immensely civilized race. We consent simply to observe and gather knowledge.
And that wasn't enough for you?
No, of course not. With a whole galaxy to explore, eons of time, countless civilizations to meet. I'm afraid we've landed right in the middle of one of the worst wars in human history.
Court finds you guilty of espionage.
This whole place is divided into time zones. 1917 zone, Roman zone, American Civil War zone. There's something very strangely wrong here.
You will answer me now, or I will destroy your mind.
Run, Zoe! Run! Down there!
They came in a space-time machine.
It is like the TARDIS. Who else would have space-time machines?
The secret of space-time travel is known only to you and to your people.
This is the war chief to all war zones.
My duty to shoot you.
This is a command direct from the warlord.
Stand still! You are completely surrounded.
Doctor!
I kill him.
No.
When the Time Lords get him, he'll wish you had killed him.
Don't come any closer, no!
You have returned to us, Doctor. Your travels are over.
Of course I am joking by saying that that's the best thing on the disc. An advert for something else? Hardly fair. No, the actual jewel in the crown of this disc is an uncut version of episode 1. It runs at 6 minutes longer. It doesn't have that slightly garish, that incredibly garish extra music. So without the music, and with the extra footage, this extra episode really does work. There isn't an option to watch the first episode without music and then watch the others, but I'm sure with a couple of button presses we can sort that out. And to close, I'll finish on something from the WhoMix website. A lot of talk has been made of late of the new theme tune used by the WhoCast. Is it slightly rocky? Well, there's always this version if you like your slightly heavier metal version of the Doctor Who theme music. Until next time, be seeing you.
There will be only Dalek music.
Hello, I'm Rula Lenska. I'm the one who was in Rock Follies and is still very famous, albeit with a sore throat. Now, are you a fan of satirical science fiction podcasts? Have you ever typed the words tachyon and TV into a search engine, even if by accident? Have you ever found yourself chuckling inanely over Bitfanish's Henchman Chronicles? Or perhaps you can't get the theme music of Gangsters out of your head? If you answer yes to any of these questions, why not start showing your appreciation by sponsoring Neil Perryman to climb Mount Kilimanjaro later this month? You cheap, ungrateful, lazy fuckers! He had to watch The Stolen Earth 26 times in one weekend once, the poor sod, and what thanks does he get? It's not easy coming up with jokes about David Tennant's hair, you know. Just £5 could help UNICEF. That's the United Nations Children's Fund, a real charity that's so good even I did some work with them once. But wait! That's not all. We'll also throw in a signed photograph of Mary Tam or Bernard Horsfall at no extra cost. £15 could land you a book signed by Nev Fountain's girlfriend. But hurry, Cornell and Shearman are now in short supply. Please visit behindthesofa.org.uk for all the details on how to donate. And please don't forget that next year John Williams will be attempting to climb Mount Popocatépetl in aid of Bidmeadism, while Damon is now into his 7th month of sitting in a bath full of baked beans for children in need. And to what end? We await your donations. Thank you so much.
You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.